Hi. Does anyone know where these images are from? This is a China that most of you will recognize. Masses of people in a rapidly developing city, beautiful scenery in endlessly large landscapes. Today, however, I would like to show you a snapshot of the China I found after I quit my job 2 years ago in search of traditional crafts. The project I called Trace China. This is the route I took, and this is my friend Brian, who I convinced to come along as my translator. As China's land area is only slightly less than Europe, and it has 56 ethnic minority groups, it is no surprise that it encompasses a diverse range of cultures and traditions. In Weifang, I found a craft that most of you will recognize. This kite maker experiments with automotive kites that move with wind power. His innovation is copied by many mass manufacture workshops. In Mongolia, I found a craft that fewer of you will know. Ajilun tells us how the Orichan people take the bark off the trees without damaging the trees and then sew them into lightweight and practical objects, such as these boxes. And does anyone know what this is? On the border to Russia is where I learned how the Hertze make fish skin clothing. The dried skin is hammered inside this device until it is soft like fabric. It takes one man about a month to prepare enough skin for one piece of clothing. It is probably because of this labor of time that many of these crafts are dying. When we traveled to this remote village in Yunnan, we heard that it was where all the villagers made oiled paper umbrellas. By the time we arrived, however, only 2 families were still practicing the craft. Mass manufacture has changed the purpose of many of these items. Previously, they were for everyday objects. Now, most are only made as souvenirs. When we went to Kashgar, this potter tells us no one wants their children to be souvenir makers, so they themselves will be the final generation to hold the skills of their craft. Ironically, it is because they are soon to be dead that most of these are still alive, because birch bark boxes and fish skin clothing are much in demand for museums. Luckily, though, not everyone is resigned to the death of these craft skills. I went to Qinghai and met Klaus. He combines European textile techniques with traditional Tibetan techniques to improve the quality of their products. Last year, I went with my friend Amvo to stay with Zigdo and his family, all 5 generations of them, to learn weaving the traditional way, but with a westernized taste and an improved quality control. And yes, they are still just making souvenirs, and those being trained are the older generation. But this is a step in the right direction, creating contemporary objects that appeal to a wider audience to raise awareness about this ethnic group. Inspired by this, I returned to northern China earlier this year with my co-designer Thomas to learn more about the Orichan, who had inspired me the most on my first trip. We wanted to see if we could use design as a language to translate their knowledge to appeal to a wider global community. Of course, the ladies were most eager to teach me how to make birch bark boxes after learning that I was unmarried, because you need to know how to make a good box if you're going to become an Orichan wife. I also met Rajilun again. A year and a half on, and her eyesight had deteriorated, and much of the village architecture had changed. China is changing fast, and while I was excited at meeting all these new friends, I was also washed with a sense of sadness. For these embroiderers, fur makers, artists, canoe makers, they are the final generation who really hold in their hearts the skills, the knowledge, the passion for the hunter-gatherer lifestyle. Once this generation are gone, their knowledge will be lost, as the younger generation are too busy catching up with the noise of the consumer world to listen. So, what did Thomas and I decide to do? As the first step, we're designing a range of high-end children's toys to raise awareness about the Orichan. Children, through play, will learn about the culture, and the adults who play with them will become interested in finding out more. The Orichan hold much knowledge, especially about the surrounding environment. With current concerns about ecology and sustainability, we can learn a great deal from these previously nomadic cultures that lived in and still respect greatly the harmony of the natural world. And what can you do? There are many traditional cultures out there, other than the few I mentioned today, just waiting to be rediscovered. The wisdom held by the elders of these communities has the potential, if it is updated and translated, to enhance modern life. Can we save this knowledge from just becoming fading memories in museums? It is not about living nostalgically in the past. It is about asking ourselves, how can this knowledge be used to improve our lives in the present and for the future? Thank you.